Hey y'all, it's me Alex from The Longest Cosplays. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a good day so far. Welcome back to The Longest Comics Presents. This is a show where I read all of the books in my collection from January of 1990 to October 22nd, 2003. And today we're doing May of 1990. This is, I guess, part 1 of 2. Yeah, I have like 8 books that were released this month, so I am splitting it into 2 parts simply because you don't need to hear me rambling for 2 hours of your day. You really don't. I don't even like hearing myself talk for that long, so I decided to split it into 2. That way, it's easier on me to do this. Otherwise, I'd be having sticky notes galore. And quite frankly, I don't have the space for that. So, yeah. Pretty good month, I'd say, for comic books, at least in my collection. 'Cause right here we have Green Lantern number 2, ASM 334. Conan the Barbarian 234, and Namor the Submariner number 3. And you can see right here, I also have issues 1 and 2 sitting over here because I had to read these to understand what was going on in issue 3. And no tea. We ran out, so we're hydrating properly today. Not that I don't ever hydrate, but it is always good to have some water nearby. And this is a fresh bottle too. I just finished one 10 minutes ago, so really really hydrating yourselves today. So yeah, I have been a very busy person today. I woke up at like 10 o'clock ish, really 9:30, but I really wanted to get some extra sleep, so I slept for about 30 more minutes. Woke up at 10, showered, I went down to my local comic book store to get my new books for the week, which are sitting back there. I have not taken them out of that bag yet. And I am pretty sure I bought the current issue of Supergirl on complete accident, because they keep putting it in my pull box, even though I said I was not buying it anymore. Which is fine, I can always find someone to pass it off to, or if I like it enough, I'll keep it. Who knows? So what would I be listening to today? Well, I tried to see if there were any albums I was interested in that were released this month. There was one by Ice Cube, I think, that came out. I'm not too interested in it. So I decided, you know what? I have a knack for older music anyway. Let's take it back to 1978 with this cool album by Billy Joel called 52nd Street. Most people know that album for the songs Honesty and Big Shot. And Honesty is a great song, and I have that as one of my highlights in this record. But my favorite song out of that album is Stiletto, which, if you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend it. It's a great song, especially if you have any like crazy ex-girlfriends. And I mean like actually crazy. I had my definition of crazy ex-girlfriend redefined, or like changed entirely. Like I thought I had it pretty bad. No, I got off scot-free apparently, compared to some people I know. But if you have like a crazy ex-girlfriend, Stiletto is the song for you. You should listen to it, it's great. There's also Until the Night, which is a tribute to the Wright brothers, that Billy Joel did. And I think they covered it. I don't know if that's true. I know there is a great cover of this song. I want to say it's by the Wright brothers. I want to say they did that, but I will... These aren't really edited videos, so I'm just gonna accept the fact that I probably got that wrong. which is fine, and of course, Honesty, you know, that's the song in that album that most people know. But I highly suggest listening to Stiletto and Until the Night. Those really are amazing songs, especially Until the Night. That's like one of the most underrated gems in Billy's discography, and I highly recommend it. So I listened to that throughout the past couple of days. There's also a song on there called Rosalinda's Eyes, which I've really been keeping on repeat lately. I like that one too. As for because I wasn't finding any albums I was interested in, I decided to see what movies had come out. Back to the Future Part 3, released in May of 1990. It's been a long time since I've seen Back to the Future Part 3. I just know that one as, like, the old Western Back to the Future movie. I'm much more fond of, parts 1 and 2. Obviously, I mean, part 1 is a classic, and 2 is a great sequel. I've maybe only seen part 3 maybe, like, twice in my life. I have not gone back and revisited that one much. But I might do so soon, just because it would be funny, I guess, to do that. So, yeah. I also tried to see what games had come out, and there was nothing too interesting. I don't know. I was really trying to do, like, more research, on this month than I usually do, but I take what I get. So let's actually talk about the book, shall we? First up, we've got Green Lantern. This is issue 2. Written by Gerard Jones, pencils by Pat Broderick. I'm really putting that in the glare, aren't I? Again, I gotta get better at... There you go. Written by Gerard Jones, pencils by Pat Broderick, inks by Bruce Patterson, colors by Anthony Tollin, letters by Albert D. Guzman, with a cover by Pat Broderick. So there's your Basement Comics style rundown of who did this. It's so funny. I was looking at the comments to my last episode for April, and Paul, Mr. McGroovy, was funny enough to say, he was complimenting me and whatnot. He was like, you just need like another half gallon of hair product and you'd be just like him. And I thought that was really funny, especially for the fact that I don't use hair products much. I use sea salt spray, and that's really it. Just to kind of give my hair more texture. But Green Lantern number 2. You get this great cover with Guy Gardner. Street Demons. Which, by the way, this doesn't happen. This is a very misleading cover. This doesn't happen very much in this book. But it's still really funny. But you start off with Bum Hal. Hal Jordan over there looking like a bum, looking for more work. This is like the second or third job he has taken since coming back, into the 90s. Or the second job he's taken since the 90s. And he essentially... It's not really described what he really does. But he's on C for most of it. And Guy Gardner, he's hanging out with the Justice League or whatever. And he's getting drunk, essentially. He's getting drunk. And that could just be me, like, thinking that, because I want my superheroes to get drunk, because I think it's funny. But tell me that doesn't look like he's getting drunk. And he talks about catching a buzz and worrying about whatever Hal Jordan is doing. So I'm led to believe that he is getting drunk, and also that's just a very Guy Gardner thing. And speaking of very Guy Gardner things, right on the next page, he goes to a sex shop. Or I can only assume it's a sex shop. It's triple X's and whatnot. So he's going to a sex store, right? And he gets heckled by people, and he happens upon one of my favorite villains from the Silver Age era of Green Lantern, the Tattooed Man, who first appeared in issue 23 of Green Lantern, in which I now own that. I do own it. I got it in Sacramento. You can see my video about that. That was really fun. It's a stupid fucking book. It's such a stupid book, but when I first read this, God knows how long ago by now, I was very happy to see Tattooed Man come back. I was like, wow, really? This guy? They pulled this guy of all the villains? And Guy Gardner, like, immediately recognizes him as a Tattooed Man. He's like, oh, you fought the old Green Lantern. The old one. And he's like, no, I'm just an old swabby. I'm just an old guy, you know? And obviously Guy Gardner doesn't fucking believe that, and the cover is blown, so he kind of punches Tattooed Man and kind of pisses off for a little bit. And he's like, come on, why won't they just leave me alone, man? I just want to be me. But then, of course, right after that encounter, he's kind of right back to his villainous roots. So, yeah. Guy Gardner has made an enemy with the Tattooed Man, and so they're off and fighting or whatever. And that's really what he does while Hal Jordan is on sea, talking to these crew members, I guess. And essentially they're on the boat and they're talking about following the seasons or whatever. And you know, he's like, I follow the dead, and Hal Jordan's like, you follow the dead? And he's like, yeah, the Grateful Dead, the band. He says that, I'm not joking. He brings up the Grateful Dead. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. There you go, Grateful Dead. And Hal's like, I was just afraid you were being poetic. And I'm sitting there and I'm reading this, and I guess I didn't realize what I was reading years ago because I didn't even put the Grateful Dead connection in there. That's a sick reference. I like the Grateful Dead. They're a good band. And the guy's like, yeah, I can be poetic if you want me to be. And then we cut back. Guy Gardner is still fighting the Tattooed Man, which is like one of the easiest fights ever. Like, he's not the toughest villain out there. And Hal Jordan, they cut back, and he's at a diner, and he's ordering this thing called Chicocopia, which I've never heard of. I still don't know what that is. And him and his co-workers are talking. Next thing you know, Hal's ring starts beeping, and the guy's like, dude, that's a cool ring. You know, I used to make jewelry. And Hal's like, sorry, man, I gotta run. I gotta get out of here. So Hal, in classic Green Lantern fashion, he suits up and runs off. And he encounters Guy Gardner fighting the Tattooed Man. But we're gonna get back to that later, because we cut back to John Stewart on Oa, and he finds out that that Priest is dead, and one of the Guardians, Old Timer as John Stewart calls him, but it's actually Appa Ali Apsa. I think I pronounced that right, but they call him Old Timer. So John Stewart and Old Timer are talking, and it's implied that Old Timer killed Priest, and John Stewart wasn't feeling so crazy after all. Like, in his mind, he isn't feeling crazy. You know, he's like, how can this happen? Like, there's no way one of the Guardians would kill someone, right? So John Stewart runs away, and Old Timer's like, I need your company. I need your company. And might I remind you guys just how amazing Pat Broderick is with all his detail. I think, to this day, he is one of the most detailed artists I've ever seen. Especially at this time. Because you got your David Finches out there. David Finch is a really detailed artist. Especially if you've read Skinbreaker. Please read Skinbreaker, it's really good. But he's one of the most detailed artists I've ever seen. Pat Broderick's up there with him. There's a few more I can think of. I know of them, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But there's so many good ones. And of course, Guy Gardner, featuring the Dick Tracy movie poster, which I feel like I have to watch Dick Tracy again. I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid. And I keep seeing this poster in these books, because this movie was coming out by then. So, maybe I'll watch it, like, later tonight or something, out of, you know, curiosity to see how well it holds up. But Hal is pretty pissed off that he had to be called by Guy Gardner to help fight the Tattooed Man. And so he kind of takes care of that within like 2 seconds, essentially. Because the Tattooed Man, he runs off, you know. And, of course, Hal's secret as Green Lantern is revealed to his co-workers because they see him come down. And, as they point out in the movie, in the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie, which I seem to be the only fan of, which I'm okay with. I'm allowed to like bad things. Or what other people find bad, I love. It's weird. But they explain, like, it's really not that hard to figure it out, you know, because you can't see the cheekbones, but you still got the hair and the lower jaw. It's like, anybody would be able to figure it out. So, you know, Hal's pissed off at Guy. Hal gets fired from this job again, because everyone's like, we don't need more superheroes here. Please leave us alone. So Hal's like, yeah, man, that's fine. I get it. And then Guy Gardner, he's all petty or whatever. He's all petty that he had to, you know, go 10 minutes with Tattooed Man. And then he comes right back around and is like, you know, it probably would have taken Hal Jordan like 20 minutes. Which, I guess isn't entirely wrong if you have read Green Lantern 23. It did take him quite a bit to defeat the Tattooed Man. But now, 90s Hal Jordan would probably take him out in like 10 seconds. So, Tattooed Man, he walks off, he's upset or whatever, and he finds the same crew that Hal Jordan was just working with, and he's offered a job, essentially, and he's like, yeah, but New York, but you know what, I'll quit my New York job by the morning, I'm in. Didn't even take him any convincing whatsoever. And so Hal Jordan's like, you know, I could try, be philosophical, but, you know, Guy Gardner, do not cross my path. Hal Jordan hates Guy Gardner. And I don't blame him. I was actually just watching, I'm a pretty avid Instagram Reels scroller, which is not, like, the most proud thing of... I can't say I'm proud of that. But I'd happened upon this video where I guess some employees of a comic book store were asked who their favorite Green Lantern was and who their least favorite was. Most of that crew said that Guy Gardner was their least favorite. And I was like, seriously, you hate him that much? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't say he like sucks. I love Guy Gardner. I don't know. I love him. So that's Green Lantern number 2. Very solid issue. Still kind of getting all the stuff set back up. But we're gonna take a dive for the rest of the video into Marvel with ASM 334. Written by David Michelini, pencils by Eric Larson, inks by Mike Macklin. Mike Macklin. That's, yeah. Colors by Bob Sharon, letters by Rick Parker, with a cover by Eric Larson. And, again, more Eric Larson Spider-Man goodness. You know that he's one of my favorite Spider-Man artists. In fact, he is my favorite Spider-Man artist of the 90s. And just get a look at this cover. This is, of course, as you can see up here, the Return of the Sinister Six, Part 1 of. It just says Part 1 of. We don't know. But I kind of wish this wasn't here, because the story would be so much cooler. If the cover didn't spoil it just a little bit. But anyway, we start off with what I love this page. I think this is classic Eric Larson goodness. With Electro and Spider-Man are having a classic battle. There's not really much to say about these. It's literally just Spider-Man and Electro are fighting, and it's awesome, and it's drawn by Eric Larson, so it's even cooler. And towards the end of this fight, by the way, Uncanny X-Men, I believe, was this on, yeah, on the Nintendo Entertainment System. If you ever want the X-Men to be ruined for you, play Uncanny X-Men on NES. It sucks. You only get to play as like 2 of the characters at once, and they all suck. They all suck. It's usually, I think there's 2 types of characters. It's like melee and then projectile. And you don't really get to use much of the powers of the X-Men. So, I don't know. It's a bad game. But I'm sure someone out there who was watching this grew up with it. Or if you've never heard of it, then I'm so sorry to be your introduction. Doc Ock shows up. He's looking mighty spiffy in that white tuxedo of his. And he's recruiting Electro for his second team of the Sinister Six. And which we'll get into next issue. And so, of course, more Electro Spider-Man battle. And I really do like, on this page, I really do like this upside down shot of Spider-Man. I think it's really cool. And Peter has an assistant job at Empire State University. And there's something about the ley line experiments that Peter is worried about causing too much harm. He can't be too careful, you know. And then that conversation is like quickly dismissed for, oh, look at that, Iron Man. Iron Man shows up and he delivers this integrated reciprocator, whatever that means, to Empire State University. And so he drops that off, and he's only in the book for 3 panels, and then he, you know, goes back to the West Coast for an Avengers emergency. And then Peter feels the need to one-up him by suiting up a Spider-Man and just lifting this thing. And he realizes that, like, everyone is, like, treating him like a mascot, so he doesn't feel too great about that. And then MJ, still doing her acting business, she messes up one line, and she pretty much gets yelled at for, like, a whole 2 pages. And by this guy, his name is Hal McGee, who very much looks like Guy Gardner. And I realized that reading these 2 back to back. I was like, interesting thing here. Of course, this Hal McGee guy, you know, he's not as cocky and annoying as Guy Gardner could be, but he sure has the anger. So Peter and MJ, they're back home, and he's essentially comforting her because she's had a rough day, and she checks up on him because he's Peter Parker. I mean, you gotta check up on that guy. He's miserable. And of course, this guy's like, no. She has too many burdens. I don't want to put any of my issues on her. And, you know, he's a great husband. And I really wish they would get married again. But that's never going to happen. That's wishful thinking. So, get Nathan here, who's being taken care of by the Parker family. You know, he's sad and old and in a wheelchair. And then Spider-Man, or I guess Peter, you know, he encounters these guys in headbands. Because Nathan's out on I guess a walk. I don't really know I don't want to be insensitive. I don't know what, like, I guess it would still be a walk if you're just going out for the day. I don't know. Either way, Nathan gets robbed essentially, and Spider-Man, you know, he comes in, and he's stopping that. He's stopping it, and he's showing these kids who's boss or whatever. And it's a really good fight. I like it. It's sweet. And then Nathan is kind of like all grumpy about it. He's like, but these pills, man, jacket pocket, and then you get this shot of all this money, and it's like, where did he get that? Peter's suspicious, obviously. And it's not like older people are just always filled to the brim with money. I could be wrong. I'm not up there yet. And you know, I'm realizing now that time is going to come way sooner than I think it will. So this will age very badly in 30 years. So Peter comes back home, and he's still strung up about where did all that money come from, and he's getting ideas in his head essentially. And then we cut to William Baker, who is the current Sandman at this time, getting an entrance from Doc Ock himself, and essentially Doc Ock comes to recruit the Sandman. And so the second iteration of the Sinister Six team is being made right from underneath our fingertips. And that wraps up Amazing Spider-Man 334. Again, I really like the 90s era of Spider-Man. I think it's, especially post-symbiote era, post-Venom era. And that's not to say we're not going to get any more Venom. We will. Trust me. But I like a lot of the stuff outside of that, because a lot of it is just like, kind of back to basics Spider-Man. Just the stakes are a lot higher because he's married. Please make them remarry. Stop with the one more day bullshit. And I recently saw that Joe Quesada said that if he was gonna do a one more day follow-up, he's gonna double down on it, and that really pisses me off. And you know, speaking of Spider-Man, I don't think I've really gotten I don't think I've really spoken about Brand New Day, at least in depth. And I don't really intend to go full on in depth because I know there's people that still haven't seen it, so I'm not gonna spoil anything. I would just say that I saw the movie opening day. I loved it. It was a great addition to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and I think out of that MCU series, Brand New Day is my favorite. Which is saying something, because the fact, I mean, I've only ever seen it once, but No Way Home. That one was really special to me. Having grown up with both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, No Way Home meant a lot to me. So, to have Brand New Day surpass that was shocking to me. I really liked it. I thought, obviously, the suit looks amazing. And in fact, I ordered the Brand New Day costume a couple days ago. So I'm very excited to get that in the mail in however long it'll take. And hopefully I don't have any shipping problems with it, like I did last time. But, I ordered the costume. I'm very excited to have it. It's the most, I think, objectively speaking, that is the best... Excuse me. That is the best live-action Spider-Man costume. Objectively. My favorite will always be the 2002 suit that Tobey Maguire wore after the wrestling outfit. That will always be my favorite, but from an objective standpoint, Brand New Day looks the most like the comic books, and it's one of the best things ever put to screen. I really liked the intro. They put all that stuff in the trailers with the comic book recreations. I liked all that. And I think they did a really good job not... I think they did a really good job of not overdoing the message of the movie, which is you can't do this alone. I really liked it. It really spoke to me. I want to go see it again in theaters at least one more time before it inevitably goes on streaming in like 3 weeks. Whether or not that'll actually happen is beyond me, but I would at least like to go see it again in theaters, maybe in IMAX. But I gotta really plan ahead for that because tickets sell out like crazy. So go see Brand New Day if you haven't already. Please let me know what you think. I'd be interested to see how this ranks upon your Spider-Man and MCU tier lists, or whatever. It was great, I loved it. So, jumping away from Spider-Man, we have Conan the Barbarian. This is issue 234, written by Michael Higgins, pencils by Ron Lim, inks by Dan Adkins, colors by George Rousseau, and letters by Augustin Moss? Augustin Moss. I'm really terrible at pronouncing some of these names. And I'm now questioning, I'm just now realizing, did this actually come out in May? Because I have this cover dated in July. And I wrote July on the back of this, so I'm actually going to check to see if I even had to read this. I should have. I don't know why I wrote July, if that's the case. And of course, I am using my trusty League of Comic Geeks to help me out here. Because, it's the one that I use. I'm not going to pay for CLZ. Okay, yeah, it is in May. I don't know why I wrote July on the back of this. Look at me messing my own self up. And I will just turn this off right here. Anyway. Silly me. I guess I must have just looked at the cover date and then went from there, which obviously that is wrong. Anyway, there really isn't much to this issue, and I realized Conan is obviously drawn completely differently than he usually is. This is more harkening back to like the Barry Windsor Smith Conan, especially with the OG trade dress on there. But there really isn't, like I said, there isn't much to this, because the whole issue is just Conan and Jorma, who is this guy, or is it Yorma? Either way. Yorma is kind of, I'm probably gonna flip-flop between Jorma and Yorma. I think Yorma sounds more correct to me. So we'll go. I'm just gonna roll with that. Conan, you know, he's talking to Yorma, and he comes close to killing him, but then he doesn't, because he'd rather take his own life than kill someone that he's friends with. And so, the entire rest of this issue, and look at them getting drunk with hot women, and more Uncanny X-Men. That game sucks. And also, you know what? There's a small teaser for The Amazing Spider-Man on Game Boy. That game also sucks. They're getting drunk, and the entire issue, and this one's really gonna go fast, because again, not much of a plot here. The entire issue is that northern Samaria is under attack, specifically Yorma's village, and they're going to stop it. That's the entire story. Not much depth to this one, which is okay. I don't mind very simple stories like that, but it was very shocking to go from, and I haven't read all of Marvel Conan yet. I still have, like, hundreds of issues to go through. Basically, yeah, hundreds of issues or something. Like, I still have a lot to go through. And so, it's just pretty art. It's pretty art. That's really the main selling point of this. And again, Conan is really drawn differently. Like, you would not be able to tell me that this is Conan. And if this was the first time I was ever seeing Marvel Conan, I'd be like, there's no way. There's no way. It's like, this is gonna be a very strange comparison, but I promise this will make sense. It'll be like the transition between, like, 1983 He-Man to 1990s He-Man. You get, like, the big buff barbarian and OG He-Man. And then when you get to the new adventures of He-Man in the 90s, he's still a muscular guy, but he's got a slick back haircut with a ponytail, and he's got pants on, and a completely different look for the Sword of Power. And it's like, that's like unrecognizable. Like, if this wasn't called He-Man, I wouldn't be able to tell what it was. Granted, I have not actually sat down and watched all of the new adventures of He-Man, so I don't know how good it actually is. I've seen the first episode, and I actually liked it quite a bit. It seems interesting. But anyway, it's like that. Like, it's so drastically different than what you're expecting. Because I'm used to the John Buscema Conan, and the Conan of modern day, where he's, like, almost hulking, like, almost roided out like Schwarzenegger. I'm used to that kind of Conan. I'm not used to, like, the slimmer muscular, like the slim muscular Conan of Barry Windsor Smith. I'm not used to that. Not to say that the art is bad. I just, it's something you gotta take into consideration there. And so they're assembling armies for northern Samaria. And yeah, again, it's just fighting for this village. And there's not much to it. And again, Dick Tracy, I feel like this is my sign to watch Dick Tracy again. Because it's been so long. I watched the Dick Tracy cartoon as a kid. But we're not talking about Dick Tracy, we're talking about Conan. Which, again, now, of course there's all this dialogue here, but it's not really affecting much of the story here. And you get this, like, werewolf guy, which I'm actually going to turn the page back because I really want to showcase this werewolf right here. Or, yeah, that looks cool. And again, hot women in a Conan book, I mean, that's, like, required by law, essentially. It's really just fighting. Conan, defeats this creature, and you get a sexy woman teased as the villain of the next story, and that's really it. You can really breeze by this one. Breeze through this one really quickly, sorry. I had a Subway sandwich right before this. I got a chicken bacon ranch, and I just added a bunch of spicy sauces to it. And I could still taste it like the back of my throat, and I really wish I got another one. But it's fine. It's fine. There's leftover spaghetti anyway from last night with meatballs, and I know for a fact that will call my name later tonight. But yeah, kind of your run-of-the-mill issue. Not really, there's nothing too special about it. Still pretty good. But would I go out of my way to reread it again? Probably not. Unless I was reading through all of Conan in sequential order. And so, yeah, it was pretty alright. And then I have these 2 issues of Namor here that were gifted to me by Eric T. over at SideQuest Comics, and I have issue 3 right there. I did read these before reading issue 3 for today. I liked these. I was very surprised by how much I liked these. This may in fact be the origin of me becoming a Namor fan. Which I never thought in my 22 years of existence I would ever say that, but here I am. So let's get into Namor issue 3 here. I gotta start memorizing to put this in my left hand. Namor issue 3, written and penciled by John Byrne, inks by and I'm gonna probably mispronounce this name again. Written pencils by John Byrne. Inks by Bob Wycheck? Correct me if I'm wrong. Colors by Glynis Oliver. And letters by Ken Lopez, with a cover by John Byrne. And again, like the first two issues, I was very surprised about how much I liked this one. And in fact, this came out in April of 1990. Because you know my rule, if I get an issue that came out before the week of recording or whatever, I will incorporate last month's issue into this month. And so, part 2 to this will have issue 4, which came out in May, so don't worry, I'm not ignoring issue 4. Meeting of the Board. And this is a great cover, featuring Griffin. And I'm pretty sure... There we go. Griffin is also featured in issue 2. Issue 2's cover. And before I actually dive into issue 3, I do want to point out, this really reminds me of which issue of Man of Steel was it that John Byrne did that has like this exact pose. Like, it's pretty goddamn close to that. I think it was issue 6. It's either issue 6 or issue 1 or something. Either way, John Byrne drew Superman in the 80s in this almost this exact pose. So it was very funny to see that again. And I might get some flack for this one, but I'm not too big of a fan of John Byrne's Superman. At least the origin. It's not what Superman is to me. But that's a conversation for a different day. Because we're talking about Namor the Submariner. Fuck-ass Namor, as I usually like to call him. But within the first two issues, Namor, he crash lands on like a primitive island or something. And he reunites with Lady Dorma and Marina, and through trial and tribulation, he's back in New York, essentially. And he encounters the Griffin, who attacks a friend he made, Carrie Alexander, and they take this fight to the Statue of Liberty. That is like the bare minimum of what you need to understand before getting into this. So, in today's Namor issue, number 3, the fight continues between Namor and Griffin, and genuinely, it's a great splash page right there with Griffin attacking Carrie Alexander. And essentially Namor gives him the old 1-2 and he's done, essentially. Bionic Commando, that's a good game. That's a good game. Anything like Capcom is usually good. And so, Namor, he reunites with Carrie. He's like, "Are you okay?" You know, they kind of exchange their words or whatever. And so we follow this helicopter back to the Roxxon headquarters, where this guy right here, Desmond, reveals that he's the one that sent Griffin to attack Carrie Alexander. And you're looking at him, you're like, why would you do that? That's so mean. And he's like, I want to learn of the mystery men behind Oracle Inc. And so that's why he did that. But of course, Namor and Namorita, Namor and Namorita, they're talking in Namor's apartment or something, headquarters. I don't really know what to call it. This is my first like proper Namor run. So, to you Namor fans, is he just like chilling in an apartment or something? Because that would be kind of awesome if he just had an apartment. Like a normal guy. But he's relaxing, he's doing some research, and he finds out that the Beast has fought Griffin in human form. So to you X-Men fans, which is like 90% of you who watch me are really big into the X-Men, there's your X-Men for the day. Oh, Double Dragon 2, that's also a good game. Sorry, I'm like really into old video games. So whenever I see something that's bad and good, I have to make it known. And essentially Namor is like, yeah, no, Roxxon is behind this. Like, we gotta stop it. Everything's being all weird, and there's something, dealing with a parallel conglomerate, that's generating interest in this business. And so they're like, yeah, no, we gotta, like, stop this. And so that's exactly what Namor sets out to do. And he faces off Griffin once again, and which I must say was a very enjoyable fight sequence. I actually really liked this. Again, it's not like I'm forcing myself to admit that I like Namor, because I've never read Namor. I don't actually have a bias towards him or against him. It's just, I never thought I'd be saying this, because I've always been saying I hate Namor because of the game Marvel Rivals. He's like the worst guy to go against. So, it's weird saying those words. And again, it's just a beautiful fight sequence between Namor and Griffin. And again, despite all you hear about John Byrne being a dick, he's a really good artist. And I think this is a really solid thing. And so, of course, Namor wins that fight. And he takes it. He takes it to Roxxon in this boardroom, which, more Dick Tracy. I don't think I've ever said Dick Tracy as much as I have today. Anyway, they're in the boardroom. Namor is still fighting Griffin, but tosses him aside, and he's like, "What is happening? Why are you sending Griffin after us? What is behind Oracle? What is all this?" And everyone's like, "What? What are you talking about?" I'm not gonna talk. And so Namor gets pissed and he flies away with his little ankle wings, which I still find very stupid, but it's alright. And then the issue essentially ends with Namor and Carrie kind of processing everything. And Carrie's like, I need to be careful. My dad is gonna be in trouble if I stay here any longer, because her dad's like hospitalized. And so Desmond Mars is like planning more shit. And yeah, that ends Namor the Submariner, issue number 3. Again, I was very surprised about how much I liked this. So everybody say thank you, SideQuest Comics, for turning Alex, the longest cosplays, into a Namor fan. Because I'm liking this. I'm liking this so far. And I have so many more issues to go through of Namor. I bought so many at my latest show, Charlotte Comic-Con. My video about that is going to be up in 2 days as of this one. So on Saturday. You will see that. Yeah. I think I covered everything. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I'm really glad to see that you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. I really like taking it back to the past and reading old stuff again. And some of this stuff I haven't read in a long time, and some stuff like Namor I've never read. So it's a great way for me to experience new stuff and old stuff again. And I couldn't be happy that you guys are with me. I appreciate this. I appreciate all the comics. I am appreciating that too. I'm appreciating all the comments I'm getting, all the feedback, and all the support from you guys. Not just on this show, but on all my other videos. Really means the world to me. I think, yeah, that convention video is the only thing I have coming out relatively soon. I still have a couple of videos in the can that I need to work on. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye-bye now.